gon' tune in cause the showtime. Go ahead and call the gang up for the one time. Rap, Phoop, Ryun, got them on the line. And my life's still great, I'm doing just fine. Hands up.
But while we're talking about anime, the next topic that I wanted to get into for this episode is that um it was a news article that came out that Naruto and Bleach anime studio presidents rejects the idea that anime should conform to Western standards. And it's just been this whole debate on anime. We have the American animation, we have anime, and when I was reading the article, the whole thing just sounds entitled. And not on the anime creator side, on our side. Because who are we to tell them that, hey, you need to make your animation to fit more of our niche, our animation style, our themes, or whatever. And I feel like we're just missing the point of why people watch anime to begin with.
Preach. And that is my thing. That is my thing. When you talk to people from other nations, they always say, Americans act like the world revolves around them. And we do. We act like this amazing, well, I can't talk for the country's politics or the people or anything else, but this country that developed a product that is anime and manga, this amazing thing that is loved worldwide, not just in America, other nations love it too. Y'all gotta adjust to us. Y'all gotta adopt our politics, our social politics, our views on how this stuff should be distributed, and everything else. How shonen should treat different people within the show, within the anime. And I'm like, no, we watch anime because it is a completely different approach, based on a completely different culture, based on different social politics, based on different traditions, different values, different views. They produce this content and we're able to digest it and experience another perspective.
And we
No, do
talked
not
about
adapt
this.
this to be American.
And we talked about this on when we were doing our Black History Month conversation about anime and
Exactly.
manga, and it was we basically said the same thing. Like, who are we to tell them how to create, their content? And at the end of the day, you don't have to watch it. And also, at the end of the day, they didn't have to share it with us. Like, they didn't have to make these deals
Exactly.
with Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus or whatever to make their content available to us. And I also feel like if you're gonna be entitled to tell them to make our stuff match our American animation, that's gonna take away the uniqueness of the animation.
Exactly.
The plot lines, the cliche tropes and all of that, and the themes and everything. I feel like, when, just to quote what one of these studio directors said, like, if you make animation with that in mind, it will become increasingly boring.
It will. Because why do
Eh,
we just want, do y'all just want more Family Guy, Rick and Morty, and Simpsons?
But I'm just saying, like, we talk about this sometimes with, like, the American animation, is that we have very few standouts when it
Exactly.
comes to American animation. Like, some of them, like, all of them, like, align, like, have the same foundations, but there's only a few that we've actually sat down and be like, this is good shit. And you guys can attest for that because of what we make mob reviews for. I can count on my fingers how many American animated series that we have really sat down and had heavy conversations about. Invincible, Arcane, The Legend of Vox Machina.
And I would throw in there, I would only throw it in there because even though it's a movie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
You're right, but the point that
We
I'm trying
barely
to
hit 5.
I did like the Adventures of Super. I'll take that back. The animation, I like the animation, but it wasn't standout like the other ones that we just talked about.
It ain't had
But
everybody talking about it like we talk about these popular animes.
but the point that I'm trying to get at is that, as far as American animation goes, to me, and if you disagree, leave a comment, that there's not a lot of standouts. So for us to turn around and tell, the anime community, the creators, the producers, the animators, that, hey, you need to conform to meet our standards. What is the standard?
We ain't even set one day. Honestly, here's the funny thing. They set the standard because when you look at a lot of American animation, some of our standouts are taking influence from Japanese anime,
Exactly.
which is the funny part. We're still talking about Avatar. Let's talk about who Avatar was influenced by, said by the creators themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And like when we look at this, my whole thing is another approach, just a completely different approach. Have y'all explored all genres of anime? Y'all still are watching battle shonens that are shown off on Toonami and
Mm-hmm.
everything else. And Attack on Titan was the most unique show y'all watched. Y'all have yet to explore the other demographics, the romance
The
animes, the
sports
comedy
anime,
anime, sports. People kind of dipping their feet into sports now because of Blue Lock and a few others.
the
But y'all ain't
Haku's series.
Haikyuu, yeah, like y'all ain't even tried nothing. Y'all over here mad at the ones that are on my wall. Like this ain't just a small portion of what's actually out there when it comes to anime and manga content.
I
There's so
agree.
much more.
And I feel like, and I feel their frustration because, like, it's not like they haven't been making adjustments to fit Western audiences anyway. It's like, I feel like that's part of the reason why we have dub.
Exactly.
And then, like, if we want to talk about a specific example I want to pull out is Sailor Moon, like, or even like the old 90s animes where they had to change the theme song. So the reason we have two different versions of the Sailor Moon theme song is because the Western audience wanted something different than what Japan already had, which is why we have
Mhm.
that fighting evil by. This is the reason why we have that, and they wanted to switch it up so bad that the lesbian relationship in Sailor Moon got switched to them being cousins. And it was just like they've already been making adjustments to fit the audience. So
Exactly.
it's not like they've been putting up the middle finger to the Western audiences this whole time. It's just I feel like this is the line. It's like, okay,
Exactly.
we not doing that.
And I'm so happy that they did make that announcement because it's like let entitled people know that y'all can't change others. Like we are not the world does not revolve around you. It does not revolve around us. It does not revolve around America. There are so many unique interests. And like what people fail to realize, we getting Korean anime now. I
Yeah,
watched the Chinese anime back in the day, but some people don't even realize that Solo Leveling, that's not Japanese anime.
yeah.
Now let's look at how anime is starting to spread and how we're getting all these new creative ideas. Don't shut someone else's new idea down. If you don't like it, go support another one. And I would encourage all of the folks who got a little frustrated at that, go look up some of these American comic book artists who I follow on Twitter who are trying to make their own animes and unique shows and go
Hmm.
try them out. Go support them. Go pay for their Patreons. Go send them some money to their Kickstarter programs because
Yeah.
they're out there. Me and Food wanted to write something too. If we ever write something out here and y'all want to see an American based styled anime or whatever, pay some money for it. Show us
Hmm.
that you really want it without just talking that smack.
I just felt like the whole conversation was entitled because at the end of the day, they don't have to give us this content.
Exactly.
Like on the back end, I think when I was reading in the article, they understand that they have a big Western audience, and they understand that the Western audience enjoys their content. They're not like kicking y'all to the curb, but also at the same time is we're not about to change our whole formula
And
to
the
meet y'all's expectation. We're not finna stop doing something that we've been doing for years that we know has been working for years because y'all didn't say this when Dragon Ball Z was out. Y'all didn't say this when Naruto was out. Y'all didn't say this when Sailor Moon was out. Y'all didn't say that,
not at all. And
like
here
have
and
like
here's
part of the reason they say this in the article, like part of the reason why we have this larger buzz is because of the things that we've already been
been
doing.
doing. Exactly. And they do take strides towards giving us little tidbits in here, but it's dependent upon the artist. For example, the Fire Force mangaka, shout out to him. They added a whole lot of black characters because they wanted black people and African people to see some representation in their anime.
Hmm.
They purposely put some of those black characters in Fire Force. But I I'm not going to say these groups are mutually exclusive or inclusive, but I would want to challenge the folks who support the ideology of feeling entitled that Japan should adjust their anime to us and ask them, did y'all celebrate them for Fire Force when they introduced those black characters, or are y'all two separate groups of people? Like, I don't want to, accuse y'all of one thing and
I would like to ask this. If we're going to ask them to adjust their formula, if they came back and told us to adjust our formula,
are we going to
are
do
we
it?
going to do it? If they told us, if they came and told us, hey, we want y'all to adjust Invincible to look like this, are we going to do it? If they come and tell us we want y'all to adjust Avatar, Arcane, and all of
If they
the
said stop putting all these katanas in every show trying to fetishize our culture, would we do it?
That's all I'm saying. So like, I just felt like we were missing the point of why we got into anime to begin with. It's because it doesn't look like, our traditional animated series. It's because it touches on these themes and it has these art styles and it has this certain way of doing things that we don't see in our usual
Exactly.
American animation. And for us to tell them to conform is going to take away all of that uniqueness that got us into anime in the first place.
Exactly. Spot on.
So I'm glad they rejected it. I'm glad that they're keeping their identity, because I feel that is a big separation between American animation and anime. And I'm glad that there's honing on the fact. I like the way that they approach the issue, that they do appreciate the Western audience that they have, but they're standing 10 toes down that this is what makes anime have its identity and that they're not willing to compromise on that identity.
And my whole thing is, how dare y'all tell them to change when it's growing and growing more in the West
I
from
feel like
doing what
that,
it
but I feel
do?
like that's why I feel like that's why the conversation is coming about. That more people are getting into anime and, oh, I just wish it looked like this, and oh, I wish like this, because back in the gap when there was a small group of people watching this, we weren't complaining because that's their stuff. Like,
We
I'm not gonna
appreciated
complain,
it.
right? I'm not gonna complain about how this anime is created because that's their work. But
Now you
now
got the casual audience who don't really have that nostalgia, that attachment to it, and they're like,
right,
wait a minute, y'all should be doing this better.
right, and that's where I feel like this conversation is coming from. Is that it's more people diving into anime, and it's not like a specific subset of people. We're getting casual anime watchers, like how we have casual Marvel fans and casual DC fans that
Me.
are not right. Which and that's where we're getting like the tensions and we're bumping heads and having these different opinions, because now it's just like it's not a certain subset of people anymore. It's everybody.
Which is funny because it's bound to happen whenever your art continues to expand audiences. Like, there's going to be people who don't cherish you the way that your original fans do, and now they ask questions like this. Because it don't
Mhm.
just happen to anime, it happens to other things. It's happened to comics, it's happened to everything.
Mhm.
It's happening to video games now, and that's a whole completely different argument.
Yeah. So I found that interesting. When I was reading the article, I was like, y'all sound entitled as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoever was the reporter that asked that question, and whoever were the people that supported you in asking that, I ain't gonna wish evil on you. I just don't want you in my circle. I don't want that opinion in my circle.
Man, but
I think it's just money. Like, me personally, I think a lot of stuff just comes back to money. Like, we got a stronghold over social media in general in America. Well, like, forget just Meta with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat, which we already just named a few. WhatsApp.